Righto, this episode we continue to fix what Toyota should have done originally.
Oh my god.
Okay, I've got a spare.
What have you done?
Oh my god. It's awkward and it's painful. Wiring sucks. Sucks. Righto, this episode we continue to fix what Toyota should have done originally. We've got a center console that you can actually rest your arm on. I had one of these in the last Cruiser, and it's something that really changes the interior of the vehicle as far as comfort, I believe. We've got some decent speakers. Speakers that are in the thing that comes standard. You can't even hear at 100 kilometers an hour. They are absolutely pitiful. And we've got the Alpine door pods. These things look really schmick. I did have Cruiser console ones in the last one. There's a few good reasons why I picked these. Not only that, we're going to really wire up the whole inside of the car while I'm doing all this. We're going to do it all at once, pull the door trims off once. We've got Clearview mirrors coming. They should be here any day now. So in this whole process, we'll do them as well, because I only want to take those door trims off the one time. The less time you can pull your car apart, the better. While the door trims are off, we're going to get those windows tinted as well. It's so much easier to tint the rear glass with it actually out of the vehicle. Let's get into it. Okay, so one of the first things we're going to do is duck around and get these windows tinted. Now, when I say it's easier to do the tint out of the car, it's mainly this piece of glass here in the rear door. So we're going to go through and strip all the door cards out anyway, because they do have to come off to do the speakers, obviously. So let's get into it. I've got some nice plastic tools there so we don't damage these. These are like a masonite material, so if you pull these things on and off too many times, they go to shit. Good on your Toyota again. Very old technology there. So let's get in and pull these apart. Righto, put them in a safe place with the door trim, all the nuts and bolts to come out of it. If you do this and then take it to a window tinter, make sure you leave the control switch in there for the electric windows so you can get the glass up and down. But we've got everything there, sitting there nice and safe. Go around and rip all the other door trims off now. All the door trims are off. I'm going to go ahead and just pull the interior apart a little bit more. So simple things like the glove box, these speaker covers, I'm pretty sure the crossovers go in here for these new speakers because they're a woofer and tweeter that goes up in the dash. So I'll start pulling all these little bits of interior trim out, ready for the stereo. 10mm down the bottom and then just pop the cover out using those plastic tools. Super cheap auto or a shop like that, they're a interior trim kit removing tool. You get them in a pack of like 3 or 4 different shapes. And if it isn't the shape you need, just put it on a bench grinder or something. We made that custom up to pull some trims off the 60 series, so really handy little bit of gear. And it saves you scratching the hell out of everything. Might as well take the speaker out while we're going. That won't be used again. Just gives you more room to bring wiring through from the firewall as well and run it across the dash. And that's why you can't hear the stereo. That is pitiful. We'll put the screws back in where they come out of so we don't lose them. So a lot of these trim screws just literally screw into the plastic. There's no riv nut or anything like that, or a nut cert there. So again, the more times you pull that in and out, the less chance you've got of them doing up tightly again. Plenty of room in there now. Okay, so we'll pull the stereo surround out and the center console out, and then where these tweeters going up in the dash, we'll peel those out as well, and we're really starting to have a fairly bare looking 79 series. So that piece actually doesn't go back in. There's a whole piece that fits in from the Alpine kit. Just like that, it's tinted. So I literally ducked around the corner because it doesn't have a tray, tail lights or number plate on it. But it is so much easier to do with those inner door trims off. So especially the back door here, you can actually pull that piece of glass completely out, and we'll left this off so we can fit the speakers and a bit of sound deadening. So let's get straight into it. First thing is to remove the bolt underneath these, where these tweeters go. Obviously gives it a bit more clearance, and you put a screw in that is supplied in the kit. It looks very, very well thought out. Every nut, bolt, even the nut certs that you need do come with it. I'll show you what they are if you don't know, guys, and the tool you need. This will be one of those tools that if you don't own, to do this job, go and buy it, because you will definitely use it again, and it's not an expensive one either. So let's dig into it. The screw they supply you to put back in place of that bolt is in a real prick of a spot, and it shows a right angled Phillips head tool, which not everyone's going to have. So just grab yourself a little Phillips head bit and put a 1/4 inch spanner on it. Righto, so we've got the front passenger door card here. The next step is to remove the bottom drink holder, which I don't know is the last model come with that. That's pretty flash. So we'll get rid of that, and we're going to start to install the door pods now. Go through and remove the bottom clips so our template can sit over the top. We're going to hole punch where all these holes go. We've got 3mm holes to hold the actual door card on, and then we have some 6mm holes around the speaker. Next we have to drill out these 2 to 9mm. That one is already that size. We can run it back through, but it just asks to drill those 3 out to 9mm. There must be locator lugs in these other door pods going back on, so we'll do that. Hello. Go and grab the jigsaw, cut out where the speaker goes. Scary stuff. Right, next we're going to put the actual speaker pod onto the door. Before we go and do that, we've got to put all these clips back in. Okay, so we've got about 3 screws holding on the door pod now. Now we have to sit it back on the door and mark where we need to cut the inner door frame out, and also where these rib nuts go in. Right, so we are looking after this. I'm not putting sound deadening on this inner door skin. We're going to put it on the inside, on the outer door skin, and probably just 1 full sheet. So it's just to make the door skin heavier and stop that tinniness, and it'll make the speakers sound that little bit better. So it's something worth doing, I think. You're spending money on speakers and door pods. Just put a little bit of sound deadening in there, even if you don't want to do the whole thing, just at least 1 sheet will make that panel so much heavier, and it'll make the speakers sound a lot better. Move those wires out of the road. We'll zip tie them up in a minute, set this on and mark it. So don't go pushing all the clips in, just a couple to hold it. So they're the 3 rib nuts you have to put in. Really will make this solid. So I just punched them straight through. I didn't worry about using a texter. I was going to use an air hacksaw. Problem with using something like that, it's going to put swarf down inside the door. You can blow it out and whatnot, but we'll give this tin snips a go, because these are more likely to what you're going to have in your shed. I don't actually even own the air hacksaw, I borrowed it. So it is pretty thick material, but we'll see how neat we can get it. So I was just going to go ahead and start installing those door skins, but obviously we're waiting on the mirrors still. So we'll be able to do the rears, but we'll finish assembling the speakers in the door cards and we'll put this sound deadening in ready. See the difference? So much better. Sounds like a bass drum, which is what your speaker is supposed to sound like. So get that side in, cut another sheet exactly in half, and finish the rest of the door off. And then obviously we only just get the one sheet in the rear. It will make a big difference. Next step, we'll go in and drill the holes for these rib nuts. I'll show you how the rib nut tool works, and you will race out immediately and buy one because they're bloody handy. And then we also have to paint these raw edges up. Ready, getting there. So we install the nut certs now. It's these little sleeves here that squeeze in there like a pot rivet almost and leave a thread. This one being 6mm. This is your nut cert tool or rib nut tool. So we screw that on the end and it clamps in and pulls back like a pot rivet and leaves you a thread at the end. Okay, now we'll finish the door card, which involves installing the speaker into it, putting the rest of the screws in it, and a USB and the courtesy lights. There's a bit involved in this. It's going to be quite a lengthy process, I think. Righto, onto the rear doors. At least I can fully assemble these and put them back on. I just realised there's no ashtray anymore. I think pretty sure my last few had ashtrays still. So for the smokers out there unlucky, pretty old school to still have it. But anyway, so get in, set this one up, and fully install it into the door. Same as the front. We'll hang this on the door. Mark where we're going to cut the inner door frame and those rib nuts, and then we'll put the speaker in and put him back on. Back in my younger days, I used to like mucking around with speakers and big stereos in cars, as most young fellas that were into cars did. One of the things I used to do was directly solder the wire to the speakers. Then you can't have a loose connection inside a door where you don't want to pull things apart. However, you've got to be really careful you don't damage and drop solder into the speaker cone, especially since I only have a naked flame soldering iron. So we're going to do it this way because I know it'll be right forever, but definitely take time, be careful with this one. We'll place the cardboard up inside the speaker. Righto, there's no chance of those failing, and there's no dynamic load on those solders. So we zip tied it to the cable, which is zip tied to the frame of the USB cable, and yeah, there'll be no chance that there'll be any load on those cables. Those zip ties will take the load. The soldering's just there to make a good connection. So now we're going to go about trying to get the wires in through the grommet on the door. So the painful jobs are far from over with this. It is quite an in-depth install. 2 wires, one for the speaker, one for the USB, in through the inside of the door and through the first side of the grommet by poking a hole, and we taped a little piece of sharp steel to the end of it. So we'll eventually get that through the other side of the grommet here. So we don't want too much length left, because when the window goes up and down inside the door, you don't want those wires to get caught on the electric window. And I'll have zip tied them to the harness that was already in there. Enough just to sit the door card up, because if you do have to work on this thing ever again, we sit the door card there, disconnect the wires. Yes, I will have to cut them off the speaker, but at that point, if you then have to solder them back on, it's not the end of the world. It takes 5 minutes. So we can go ahead and fully install this door card, finally. Alright, put the 2 bolts in where you put those rib nuts in earlier, and should be nice and solid. 1 door complete. Righto, next door. Man, there's a lot of work in this. If you could get all this done in 1 day, you'd be doing bloody well, especially by the time you wire it all in. I haven't even started doing that yet, so we're literally just doing the mechanical parts of fitting it, running the wires. When it comes time to actually wiring it in, there's probably another whole day in that too. So along with all the other little bits and pieces you want to do in your car, because you might as well do it all together. Let's get this head unit out and start poking around behind it, try and solder these wires in. Alrighty, this is promising. Last ute was a lot messier than that. Which ones are the speakers? So we got the head unit out, and I just spent a good half an hour, 45 minutes scratching my head trying to figure out what wires are what. Now it is actually pretty simple. The diagram did say that black, yellow, red and white are your rear speaker wires. However, they are thicker than the rest of the wires in the harnesses. So you would assume that they're power, constant, earth and trigger wire, but they're not. Toyota uses thinner wires for that in this other side plug here. So we have ignition, accessory, power, earth, and then your front speaker wires in the one plug, and then you have a separate plug for your rear speaker wires, being this little fella right here. The 4 thicker wires, this is your main plug, and then all this garbage here, I really don't know, and it doesn't matter, we don't need them. So we're going to go in and cut the wires on the RCA inputs, which then turn into speaker level inputs, that you've changed that little dip switch in the back of the amplifier, which does actually fit in behind the dash. Slips in, that's nice and neat. There is a bit of room around it, so it can breathe a little bit. So let's get in and start soldering all these wires together. Righto, cut all the RCA ends off, turns them into speaker level inputs. Once you switch the switch on the back of the little amplifier here, and we solder all these into the speaker outputs of the original head unit. Jump online, or I'll try and put it down the bottom of the screen. It is the common Toyota color schemes of green, blue, pink, purple, red, white, black, yellow, front left, front right, rear left. Let's get soldering. So the Clearview mirrors are turned up, so we're going to go ahead and install those now and run the wires through the door. Now we will have Clearview wires come through the door, speaker wires, USB and courtesy light, all to come through around this grommet. So that's going to be a challenge in itself. We've got everything here hooked up. So these are the 4 speaker wires that come out of the head unit that don't get used from factory. They're your rear speakers. Your front speakers go into your harness, and then we've tapped into the power, the earth and the accessory wires. We've tested one of the speakers through the amp, everything works, so that tells me that the rest of it should be fine. So we're going to get in, put these Clearviews on, put these front door cards in, and try and get these wires run through that grommet. First step, obviously remove the old mirrors. Alright, we do have to remove the badge, which on the last ute didn't actually have any holes behind it. Plastic trim tool for the win. Just roll them off with our finger. We'll get some wax and grease remover to remove any of the glue. So this is for your wiring harness to go into the door, and we'll use a pilot hole of 3mm and then a step drill bit. Probably have your glass up at this point and don't go too deep. So we've used a little bit of just cold gear there to protect that surface. So we've got the grommet installed after we painted him. We've got these funny looking big washers that go through the mirror, through into the door. Feed your wire through your grommet, and then it's all a matter of wiring. This would be heaps easier with 2 people, but I'm on my own today. If only it was that easy. We do have to wire them up. Also, you get little plugs to cover the screw holes in the side of the mirror. Don't forget to silicone these in, or they will fall out. I don't know that from experience, but I've seen plenty with them missing. You do have to glue those in once finished. So we'll go ahead and fit the driver's side to get stuck back into that wiring. Sweet, bit different to the last one. I had the original Clearviews on the last truck, and that bigger style Clearview does suit these things. So that's not a compact, that's a next gen, which is just slightly smaller than the original. It's a good balance in between the real compact ones and that style. They also sit a bit closer to the car than the originals, which will actually make reversing the car a lot easier when you don't have a trailer on. So that's win. Righto, back inside to the wiring, and these front doors are going to be painful. So many wires going on here. We are going to pull the door grommets out, pull them through the door grommets, and then reinstall them. Okay, we install the plug on the end of the Clearview mirrors, and then the corresponding wires into the other end of the plug, and then plug it in. We're getting there. Left-hand door skin is back on. Getting all those wires through the factory grommet takes a lot of time. And it's very hard to describe how I did it, other than struggle, wiggle and weave. Use WD-40 as lube. We did put an extra 4 wires through that grommet. Now it says in the instructions to run the speaker wire for the tweeter down the dash and into the door and connect it through the high pass filter onto the back of the woofer in the door. Now that seems crazy to me. That's another wire, or 2 wires actually, in and then back out to get onto the back of that woofer. So we have actually spliced into the main feed wire with the low pass filter, so that filters out any of the lower end frequencies that the tweeter doesn't need. So we're spliced into the wire before it gets to the woofer, and then up to the dash for the tweeter. That's a real mouthful to try and describe, but it makes it so much easier that you don't have to bring those extra wires through that door grommet and back out again. Okay, day 3. Look, I haven't been going at this for 3 straight days, but there's definitely at least 2 straight days in this, I think. And we've come back this morning to this mess. Love it, I love it. This is a little transformer for all the USB ports on the doors. I come across from the other side with 1 wire. So it'll turn those into 1.2 amp on the other side, which I probably should have done the 2 wires. But anyway, we've got the head unit back in. The little amp that Alpine supplies does actually fit in behind the head unit. So that's quite neat. Really start to tidy up some wires, and then we'll get into the fuel tank gauge, the red up brake controller, and we're nearly there. Okay, in the passenger side here, you got the conduit with the electrical, like the factory electrical cables. It's got a really little thin black wire. We just tested that. That will be enough to switch the courtesy light on and off. So now all we need is a constant power source, which I'll show you where I'm getting under the bonnet. And it's a nice fused factory looking power source. So we'll put all this back together, get a power source for this, run it in, connect it, run it over the other side as well for the other door, and we're on our way. So we're going to use this accessory fuse box for the constant power for the LED lights under the door. I already do have 1 wire here ready to go for the electric brake unit. So we'll run that in through the same grommet together, and then everything else will go in over the other side of the engine bay. So you find in the glove box these funny looking little pins. They are for that accessory fuse box. So you put the wire in there, pop a fuse in it, and away you go. Bloody handy that. I'm going to run everything in through the grommet on the driver's side. It is nearly impossible on the passenger side. So we have the wire for the brake controller, the wire for the constant power for the LED lights. I've also put a trigger wire in across the back of the engine bay here in the same conduit. We do need to pick up a trigger wire off the accessory box here for the battery isolator. It's quite the mouthful. So that battery isolator will isolate the charger in the canopy and in whatever I'm towing. So we're trying to eliminate having to do things again later. I've also put an extra twin core wire in through this grommet, and I'll leave it curled up in the engine bay. So in the event that I do put a bull bar on and some spotlights, we've got a wire there to trigger those on and off. So trying to think ahead, do things once. Man, I am nearly over this wiring. Just take a quick break here for a minute, guys. Shoot across to smarttouringsystems.com.au. We've got some friggin' awesome shirts. We're stoked with the designs of Lazarus and Lance, the old HJ47. Check them out. Really helps support the channel. Please like and subscribe. I hate friggin' asking, but it does make a difference. Finish the beer, get back into it. Okay, so we just got to mount the brake controller and the fuel tank gauge and give it a good test. We ended up with quite a harness running down the right hand side. So we've got extra wires in there for a door buzzer that will alert me if the canopy doors are open when we get that done. There's extra wires in the other side for the USBs, which we're going to come off the auxiliary batteries in the canopy, so these always have power in the doors. And then an extra wire for a central locking trigger. The only wires I haven't got is a little jumper fuse off the brake light circuit out of the fuse box on the other side to trigger the brake controller. It's a real mind game just trying to remember where everything is and to try and explain it. And I hope you guys have got something out of this video, because it is very hard to show what's going on here. It's just a lot of work, very fiddly work, and trying to do it properly so you can diagnose if something goes wrong later on. Alrighty, so Toyota's made it hard again. This will work for the mirrors, but these little buttons are not separate, I just realised. So I've got nowhere to put the brake controller switch, so we'll have to sort that out another day. But we'll get all this back together now and install the switch for the mirrors and then onto the tank finally. I know I keep repeating myself here, but this is how long it takes. Oh, I just want the car back together now. I'm dead set over it. Wiring sucks. Sucks. Righto, a couple of finishing touches for the interior. This is something I wouldn't live without in a 70 series. Again, it's something Toyota should do. It's all about fixing Toyota's stuff ups, this DIY series. And one of those is the center console's way too low. You sit lopsided, got nowhere to rest your arm. So to fix that, cruiser console, they're like a 3/4 version. This is what I had in the last one and I really did like it. However, this time we got it in black. That's the steering wheel, good bit of gear. Next, so I had black duck before, this time it's MSA. Just try something different. Not bad, they look alright. What do you think of the black center console?
Yeah, I like it.
You like that? It's a winner?
I love it. I actually don't mind the black on the seats.
Yeah. Personal
because it
preference.
sort of goes in with all the black bits in there now.
One more thing.
What?
Mats. Done. Now let's turn the stereo up and test her out. Well, that's the interior of the 79 series complete. That's as far as we're going to go. We're not going to go full sound deaden or anything like that. We found it was enough just to have a decent stereo, a little bit of sound deadening in the doors. Really happy with the Alpine kit. That was $2,000 well spent. It sounds like a lot of money, but that's probably better than just about any factory speaker you get in most cars. So although you shouldn't have to put a stereo in a car, it's probably better than a factory one would have been anyway, if Toyota had even attempted it. The 4-inch speakers it comes with is a joke. The center console definitely, the canvas seat covers really do improve the comfort of these seats. It's about the only ute where that is the case. And I got a heap of wiring done at the same time, ready for when the canopy goes on, so I don't have to go pulling the whole car apart. The only thing I'm missing is spotlights, and I didn't put the UHF in because I don't really have anywhere for the aerial yet, knowing that down the track I probably will put a bull bar on this. But that's the 79 series interior, and really this episode was about that stereo. The other thing I'm missing, which is might have picked, is I didn't do a reversing camera, which sucks because it means I will have to pull that head unit out again. At the time I ordered all this stuff, there wasn't one available for that head unit, like a plug and play setup.
So again, that's something that you try and do everything at once, but it's got me there a little bit at the end. The Clearview mirrors. So stoked with those. I actually ordered the traditional Clearview mirrors. So they make a compact, a next gen, and a traditional. We ended up with next gen. Hopefully that helps you guys with the install, because I couldn't find much on the internet about installing that Alpine kit. There is a lot involved. I would at least allow yourself a couple of days to do it properly. It's quite fiddly. There's quite a lot of wires to pull through the door grommets. And Megan's looking at me like I'm really rambling on now. But yeah, that's the interior of the 79. Next time we are hopefully putting the canopy on. I'm really, really needing that done so we can use this thing, get out of this friggin' shed. Anyway, guys, don't forget, you only live once. Get out in the shed, get into that project. See you next time.